Hello, everybody. Marcus C. Williams here, and it is a wonderful Sunday evening. Today, I went on a field trip. Went out to go see the Pittsford Drag Story Hour and talk to people in the crowd and see what was going on. So, I went out to the Pittsford Drag Story Hour, and I just honestly wanted to see what both people on both sides were thinking and what their desired outcome was and what their sense of values was. It was actually very interesting and extremely enlightening what I heard and what I saw, and I'll dive into that real quick. So, large thing that I noticed is that there were two separate groups, you know. One group of people who were protesting the event being there or being in existence at all, which was kind of a little bit of two separate thought processes there, but also yet in the same. Then we had the other side that was saying, oh, well, we believe that, well, it wasn't quite clear what the people that were very much for the drag story hour were there for. So I want to start off by jumping into what they were talking about when I spoke with them. So there were some there that felt like they needed to come there and support. So I asked, I said, in support of what? Well, in support of the greater alphabet community was one of the conversations that was had. Other people said that they were there to protect trans kids. Other people said that they were there because they were invited by somebody that asked them to show their support for the alphabet community. Now, what I also saw was a lot of different types of flags, alphabet flags, you know. So you had the regular gay people flag, and then you also had non-binary flag, the trans flag. Matter of fact, I didn't see a non-binary flag, but I saw one of those new flags with the intersex logo on it also, where, you know, they keep adding stuff on there. And the transgender stuff too. On the flag, it was one flag. It had a whole bunch of different things. Now, I talked to many of the people there. All of them were there for various reasons in support of it. But one of the very glaring things that I heard from people was they were there because these people should have the right to have drag time story hour. Okay, that's a fair statement and a fair thought process. Whether I agree with it personally or not is completely irrelevant. The statement in and of itself is noted. Now, as far as that went, they also went on to say that, well, it's parental rights and parents should have the rights to take their children where they see fit. Now, that's something I can understand, whether I agree with the content that that parents expose their children to or not. That's their children. I might not agree with it, but they think that that's the best way to parent. I might choose to parent a different way than other people choose to parent. So I can understand that concept. And again, I can understand it without necessarily having to agree. Um, which doesn't say I don't agree. It's just that maybe there should be a larger conversation there about parental rights. And I want to delve into the parental rights side for the people that were protesting. Now, if you talk to the people that were protesting, they don't have any argument when it comes to parental rights. Now, I don't know if you guys out there listening know what's happening with parental rights in New York State and the federal government right now, but the federal government and New York State are trying to take away parental rights. They're saying that the schools know better than you as a parent. They're saying that the state government knows better than you as a parent. They're saying that the federal government knows better than you as a parent. Now, this is very concerning because if you remember, parents used to spank their children, and then CPS started running around telling families that they could not discipline their children, which kind of led us to the age of wild running all over the place, acting all up. And that's very disappointing because that's where we are now, right? So, one of my thoughts was, what can we do to conquer this divide between the mentalities and the thought processes that were there at this event? Because they can't disagree on everything, right? Like there have to be some commonalities in thought. So, what exactly are these commonalities? And this parental rights thing kept coming up, and it dawned on me, it's like we've got these people protesting on this side, we got these people protesting on this side. Well, where is this enthusiasm for protesting our state assembly members and our state assembly people who are attempting to strip the parents of their rights right now, whom both groups say that they believe in parental rights? Why are the people from both of these groups, neither of them, right, are coming together to stand up and push back against the destruction of parental rights by the state government and by the federal government? But more so than that, you don't see either group independently really fighting back and standing up to the state assembly or the state senate or the federal government about parental rights. So where is that? That's one question, right? So now let's dive into the people who were protesting the event, right? So the people who were protesting the event, many were protesting on religious grounds. They figured that it wasn't right. They felt as though it was sacrilegious, and they mostly and there were different segments of people. Not everybody was there on a religious basis. So there was that one section of people, and then there were other people who said, it's really about the children, and we're working to protect the children from being groomed or being indoctrinated with this way of thinking, which is a very, very understandable frame of thought. It is. You think that they're teaching the children something bad, and you don't want them to teach the children something bad. I mean, I understand that concept. That's a concept that's easily received. Now, that concept is in contrast to these other people on the other side that are holding up this event and saying, yeah, it's fine for children. Okay, let's assess a few things here. So we've established that the parents are the ones bringing the children. Lord bless, I hope that it's the parents, right? Because if it was randos or some other family members that are not actually the legal guardian of these children taking them to this event, that would be very, very out of order on so many levels. Okay, that would be very out of order because, again, both groups agreed to begin with that parental rights were very important. One thing that I noticed in addition to that is most of the people that were there to protest in favor of the event were not from Pittsford. None of them were from Pittsford at all. So why are you there, right? Why are you there? And I asked. So this is what I was told also. I was told that they are there to block the hate from the people, to block the hate and act as an intermediary between the people who are bringing in the children and the people who are protesting the event, saying all types of things that they felt were hateful. Now, I don't know what people consider hateful or not, but I did see some signs saying that the people in there are demons and stuff like that. And I just honestly don't know if that message particularly is the right message to be delivering to attempt to get your point across. I don't know if it's beneficial. I don't really see it as being beneficial. And I honestly don't think that that's going to win you any hearts or minds. So maybe that's not the best messaging, right? But seeing something like that. Like I only saw one sign like that, but it was interesting because the sign was there. And people, this supports the people's thought process that there is hate against them, which whatever that means, right? We'll get into that in a second. Them, because nobody knows what them means because the alphabet group has grown so big, it's not even gay people anymore, right? Like it started off as gay, and then they added in bisexual, which is how can you add bisexual to gay? But okay, that's kind of its own thing. But then when it really starts to get weird, you added in transgender and questioning. And what's the I now? I don't even know. I don't even know anymore. I don't know because they add new letters every week, right? It's legitimately the whole alphabet, right? It's legitimately the whole world that does not identify as straight that is part of the this what was once a gay flag, and now, as I've said, it's the alphabet, right? Like it's legitimately everybody that does not identify as straight, which is weird, right? Because it's also allies that are straight but are not necessarily identifying as any of those other things. Whereas there are parts of the things that are supposed to be incorporated with the flag now that are not in the same conceptualization as the L, G, or B function of it. So that's worth its own conversation. So we're going to leave that alone. But back to the event and the people saying that they were blocking the hate from children being able to see the hate. Now, if the protesters that were against the show were saying things like, we love you and we hope you change and may Jesus bless you and stuff like that. And there were people there. There were people there that were praying and that were saying we care and stuff like that, that were protesting against the event. But there were also two agitators, okay, one who is known to individuals on both sides as being a useless piece of human waste material, and another guy who came out of nowhere who nobody knew who he was on any side, and he was really causing a very serious commotion there and being extremely hyper aggressive. Now, on the other hand, out of the people that were so-called trying to advocate for the event itself, there were quite a few people there that were antagonistic, and there were two in particular that were pretty hyper aggressive, and there came to a point where two different times I saw two of the people who call themselves supporting the event pushing other people and being hyper aggressive to those who were not doing such to them in that type of a level of engagement, which was concerning because now the question is that how you want the event represented? Like y'all like to put your hands on people? That's how you want this event represented? Like I thought you were they had all these signs out there, love is love, love is the answer, love this, love that, and you letting these people put their hands on people who don't agree when you're talking about love? That doesn't seem to quite resonate or match up anywhere. Y'all need to control your people, right? So now let's go back to the people who were protesting the event in and of itself. The two jerkwads that were there that were acting all outlandish and stuff weren't even part of the actual protest group that was there. They were affiliated with none of the individuals there. They were completely there for themselves, for their own gain, whatever it may be. We know what one person's intention is. They're just an anarcho-nihilist who wants to see the world burn, and they want to try to act like they're doing something that's for conservative stuff, and it's not. It's a daggone lie. We know who they are. I'm not going to get them any shine tonight. But there was another guy who was just there getting all hyper aggressive, talking about he wants to fight people and stuff like that. And nobody's seen this cat. Nobody's never, ever seen this dude from nowhere. I don't know whether he was a plant from an alphabet agency, whether he was hired from an outside people to sow division and anger and animosity and stuff like that. But I must say, from both sides, the majority of people were very well behaved. So that was something that I felt was very positive, and I could take that away as being a very strong positive. Now, into the most important things that I learned from being there. I learned that most of the people that were in favor of the, I can't even really say in favor, right? Because that's not even really why they were there. Most people that felt the need to come out to be seen for the side of the drag story hour were individuals who all had different thought processes. So there were people there talking about protect trans kids. Now, I don't honestly have a clue what the hell trans kids have to do with drag story time for small children. It has absolutely nothing. So now you're co-opting this particular event, which is supposed to be a drag time story hour for children, right? And you're trying to co-opt it and talk about trans kids, but this isn't about trans kids, right? This is about drag show and storytelling, right? So this is nothing, literally nothing to do with trans at all. But you're out there screaming protect trans kids and all this other nonsense, which this is completely unrelated. That's problem number one, right? That's a very serious problem. Then you have other people that are over here talking about, oh, well, we think that we're fighting against hate for the alphabet community or whatever, right? And now my question there is, are you though? Again, I thought this was drag story time, right? So wouldn't in this case you be standing up for the drag performers' rights to be in drag in front of children? Isn't that what you're really saying that you're standing up for? Right? Like for real? Like that's not the same. Like, and drag performers, okay, which a lot of this new drag is not even drag at all. It's some old demonstrably different thing completely, because we got people dressing up like demons and ethereal spirits and stuff. That's not drag, yo. That's not a RuPaul in a woman's dress in a wig. Like that's not drag. That's not what that is. This is going too far into a completely different direction. But again, it goes back to the fact that this is not representational of the whole alphabet community. And this is what happens when you try to fit everything together and try to force it together to make it fit when it really doesn't all go together or represent it all. And this is what happens when you take umbrella and put it all over the whole alphabet, right? Like legitimately every single individual that doesn't identify as straight. Now that doesn't make no sense. And that's something that we really need to have a discussion about. Because if you're there in support of the drag story hour, that is something that, whether I agree or disagree, I understand that because that's exactly what it is. It's drag story hour. But if you're there and you're telling me you're there to support alphabet stuff, but then you're telling me at the same time you're not trying to teach kids alphabet stuff, well, one of those things is a lie. Which one is it? It cannot very well be both. And this is something that needs to have a conversation on. I think also one other thing that I learned by talking to people who were in favor of the show was that all of them feel as though they personally, as not as individuals, but as a group, as a collective whole, feel as if they are being attacked. Many people brought up facts about transgender suicides and murders and stuff like that. And I'm here sitting here this whole time, I'm trying to figure out, What the hell does transgender anything have to do with drag? Or drag for children? Are you saying that these children are now transgender? Like, that's got nothing to do with this drag time story hour. It's concerning that they're lumping all of these things together under a guise of something that's not even going on. And then they'll say out of their mouth, oh, that's not what this is about at all. But you were just saying that that's the reason why you're here. So that's a concerning conversation to have. But back to the people themselves, as individuals, it didn't seem as though they were concerned about themselves, right? They weren't concerned that they were under attack. They were concerned that the ideology in and of itself was under attack, which is concerning, right? So it wasn't that it was something that was hurting them. It wasn't something that they were scared of for themselves. It was something that they were concerned about for the ideology, the alphabet ideology that's being pushed and lumped all together under one thing, which it shouldn't be. That's a whole nother conversation. But it shouldn't be all lumped together. And they're saying that they're scared that the ideology is under attack. Now, this is important. Think about that, because now let's go to the people who were protesting the event. We had people over there who were Christians that were saying that they felt as though Christianity was under attack. We had people over there saying that they felt as if morals and values were being under attack. So they had people over there that were saying that they just felt that it was inappropriate to teach that type of stuff to kids, and they were grooming children to make them believe that it was okay for men to dress up as women and women to dress up as men and all types of other stuff. So really, what the people that were protesting the event were protesting about was, again, ideology. It wasn't them as individuals. It was them representing what they felt was an ideology, be it different or the same. Now, that's, again, very interesting, because now you've got two groups that are not in there talking about, oh, it's affecting me personally as an individual. You've got two groups talking about, oh, it's an ideology that I'm working on defending. Oh, it's a thought process I'm working on defending, you know? So everybody's defending a thought process or an ideology, but what about yourselves, right? Like, are you there to stand up for yourselves? No. People say they're there to stand up for the kids, right? So are they your kids? No, they're not your kids. Okay. So it's not your kids. So you're not standing up for your kids. What you're standing up for is you believe the future of our nation. And that's where the conversation starts to get interesting. You believe that you're standing up for the future of our nation in the direction that we're going in. Now we're talking, because now I can understand that. So you got one group of people that believe that, I honestly, I'm not exactly sure what the pro people were there for in support of, because it wasn't that clear even to them as individuals, because as I said, every other person believed something else and was there for something else that was completely different, and none of them were actually really there for the drag story thing. They just use that as an auspices to come out there and protest for an ideology, which was very concerning. Now, I guess the concept of that ideology is, as they expressed, they felt as though people should be able to love who they want to love. Now, I don't know what people loving who they want to love has to do with very small children attending a book reading with drag performers. I don't understand how that makes any sense at all to anyone. That makes no sense. Okay? Because if your children are loving on somebody, especially if it's got anything to do with a drag time story story hour, that would mean that the children are loving on the drag performers, which is a whole nother level of no, right? So this is where the serious concern comes in, right? Love is fine. That's a fine concept. But now you're trying to say that the love is love concept is to be applied to the drag show story hour. And what does that have to do with love at all? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. It has nothing to do with love. It's people reading to children while they're dressed in drag. And excuse me if you're a drag performer and you get offended because some of the people that dress up are not dressing as they should to actually represent drag. So I understand that that might be a touchy subject with some real drag performers. Okay. Or do you even call them traditional drag performers? I don't know. The stuff has gone so far. It's too much. But if the concept is love, which is a fine concept to understand, what the hell does that have to do with Drag Story Hour? I need to know. I need somebody to explain that to me because it doesn't actually fit in. Then we go to the fact that we've got these people here that are also like, well, I feel, right? This is what's being said. I feel that I have to stand up for all of the alphabet community. Okay. That's understandable. But this is not all of the alphabet community. Again, this is Drag Story Hour. And again, this is what I'm trying to like impress upon you guys, right? Like if they're here, they need to be here for this reason. That needs to be why they're here. They're standing up for Drag Story Hour. They think that it's okay and people shouldn't be protesting it, or they're standing up for Drag Story Hour because they believe in the quality of it, or they're standing up for Drag Story Hour because they believe in the right of drag performers to read to children, or whatever the case is, right? But you should be standing up for that specific thing, not everything else. Now let's switch over to the people who are protesting against it. So we've got people that are saying that they're not for what's happening with these children. I understand that. They're saying that the children are being groomed. And that is a very fair argument. And I'll break it down for you, the argument down for you. So basically what you've got is you've got children that are at a very young age where they have this sense of whimsy and magicalness because they still believe in fairy creatures and stuff like that, because they still believe that they can be a fire truck, you know? Like that's a real thing. I don't understand how that works, but apparently children believe that they can be fire trucks. This is a real thing. I've had children tell me this before. So that's not like out of left field. That's like really stuff that children say. But they're at a very impressionable age in which they sometimes like to play dress up or stuff like that, you know? And this is kind of blurring the line between what is fictional and what is reality. And for me, that's a disturbing trend. That's a disturbing trend because the children are too young. They do not have the critical thinking ability enough to discern what is right, what is wrong, or what is real, or what is fake, or the fact that there is just a man dressed up like a woman, or there is a woman that's just dressed up like a man. Now, here's the thing. On the flip side, you have it where basically what their messaging is that all drag performers are trans. Or is it maybe that all trans are drag performers? Now, I've never heard that thought process before until today, because that's what's honestly being pushed. Because everything there today, I'd say probably 50+% of the people in favor were there talking about trans something. But again, this has nothing to do with trans. This is completely to do about drag. So back to the people who are protesting against it. You've got people protesting against it because they don't believe that Small children, with all their sense of whimsy and fancifulness, should be exposed to grown adults playing, pretending. It's difficult, right? Because it's not even cross-dressing, right? It's drag, and drag is like you're not even really trying. You're accentuating like caricatures of what a others of what the other sex would be. You know, like drag performers are like not trying to be trans. So to really, and it's hard, right? Like it's hard to explain and have this conversation because you want to make it a legitimate conversation, and you don't want to put too much of preconceived notions or preconceived biases in there, but you do also want to point out the glaring holes in all sides of everything that are going on here. And the fact that they're trying to basically say, the people that are in favor of it are basically trying to say that this will make kids in favor of transgender stuff is something that should be concerning, because you're telling me it's not about grooming them, but then at the same time you're telling me it's about teaching them acceptance of other people. Well, teaching them acceptance of other people at that level of an age is indoctrination, right? You're trying to get them to accept something that is not normal as the norm. And that's why you're trying to push it on them as a small child. Otherwise, you would not be doing that. Because again, you're saying that you want them to believe that this is okay, that to see a man wearing a dress and a wig with a full freaking mustache and beard is something that's normal. That's not normal. I don't care how you cut it. I don't care if you're for it. I don't care if you're against it. That's not normal. And you ain't even trying. Okay? You're not even trying. If you dress like that and then you call yourself a drag queen, you're not trying. That's dishonest to the profession of drag queens, and it's an insult. It's an insult. And what's worse is it's an insult to our cultural humanity. It really is. Because if some of you guys are old enough to remember, like they used to have freak shows and stuff like that in carnivals and circuses, even though you might not have necessarily seen them, like the bearded lady, right? And stuff like that. But I saw a cartoon the other day. It was like a little pictorial cartoon, and it had like a bearded lady, like short midget twins, and like a strong man and some guy that breathed fire. And it was a guy that was like the ringmaster. He's like, I'm sorry, you guys, I have to let you go because you're just not freaks anymore. That's wow. If that's not a sign of the times and what's actually going on, I couldn't think of a better way to phrase it. Drink water. Stay hydrated. But it's really, really something that we have to look at now. We have normalized so much of everything that's not normal that nothing is unacceptable. Everything goes. Everything is perfectly fine, even if it is completely lunacy. That's where we're at right now in American society. And this is the biggest takeaway that I've had from absolutely every experience today there. The people that were in favor, right? Because we've already gone over the fact that most of them weren't even really there to support the drag show. They felt they were there to support the whole community or whatever the nonsense is. But the majority of the people are lonely. They want love. That's why they have the signs up. Love is love. But they largely don't know how to express that. They need to feel as if somebody cares about them. They need to feel as if they are part of a group. They are longing for a level of belonging. And they believe now with the alphabet soup, that they too can be part of the alphabet and they can belong to a group that is a group of outcasts, a group that doesn't quite fit in, a group that will be accepting of you no matter what you look like, you believe. If you believe you are a dog, they'll accept you, even if you're a person that believes that you're a dog. Not to say that anybody there believe that, but we know that those people are out there, and that's a real thing. Even adult guys that think that they're babies and want to dress like babies, or just all types of crazy stuff that's going on because we've gone too far now at this point. But largely, these people are lacking love, care, concern, and it probably has a lot to do with their upbringing and their homes. A lot of them probably didn't get the love or the attention that they either A, needed, or B, desired, or C, some combination of the two. And I feel that. I understand that completely. I wish that there was somebody there that could have mentored them or guided them in a better direction, and wish that they had maybe more supportive people of them that cared about them and expressed that they were actually wanted what was best for them in a positive manner. I understand that feeling, that longing, that wanting to belong. But what we're seeing, unfortunately, more and more is we're seeing single parent homes. We're seeing busy parents. If you do have a two-parent home, we're seeing busy single parents that aren't able to engage with their children. We're seeing people that don't feel that they fit into any particular group. And if you ever went to high school in the last 100 years, you'll know that everything is very cliquish. And I'm sure that it hasn't changed much yesterday than what it was 2-3 years ago. You know, I mean, people look for a sense of belonging, and outcasts, what you might call previously freaks, as I referenced the little cartoon that I mentioned before, or exiles, or whatever the case is, they feel as though they may have found a home in the alphabet soup group because they haven't seemed to find a home of their own, and they want to feel like they're a part of something, they're a part of a bigger purpose, they're part of something grand. And that is a longing that is inside of each and every one of us. You want to feel like you're a part of something. You want to feel like you're a part of something bigger. You desire to feel as if you're being useful, as if you're being impactful, as if you're able to help move along something, anything, desperately. I understand that. I just wish that they could know real love and honest concern for them and themselves and their well-being. And I wish that they might have been able to receive that in a way in which was more impactful to them at a younger age. Because right now, people are lost. People are absolutely lost. And that's very sad. I don't know what me as a single individual can do to express to them that somebody loves and actually cares about them and wants better for them. It's sad. It's very, very sad. I don't honestly know what to particularly do about it, but the alphabet soup thing has largely become a cult banner to hold up high and say, I belong to something, anything, desperately clinging, yearning to matter. That's for real. Now, before I close, I'd like to go back to the people who were protesting the event and explain this. The people protesting the event were there for multiple different reasons, but largely because they care about either their country or the future or what they view as being right. And they've had these values instilled in them at a younger age, which gave them a sense of belonging and utility. It's how can I say it? It's the, you know what? Here, I'll say it like this. Keep it simple. The erosion of the moral fabric of our society today has led us to this point, and any further erosion seeks to completely destabilize any sense of normalcy that we have ever had in the history of our nation, and we have gone far too far already. I mentioned that before. So these people who were protesting against the Drag Story Hour were standing up for what they feel and believe is the direction of the future. And if the direction of the future is drag performers reading to children, I don't know if that's the right future for us to have. I honestly don't know. That honestly seems like it's unreasonable. And people will say, well, Marcus, you can't say stuff like that. I say what the fuck I want to say. Okay. I say what needs to be said. Okay. Because people just won't say what needs to be said. And that is a very serious problem. Because nobody wants to have an honest conversation about this stuff. Nobody. Neither side wants to have an honest conversation about this stuff. And all I'm concerned about is that the government is bending everyone over and trying to get rid of the majority of all of us, and we're too busy fighting, bickering back and forth against each other instead of uniting against the government, which is trying to jack up everybody. Like, and people can't see it because of their desperate need to belong. And this is where we used to have this sense of a wholeness, a oneness with the nation of America. We were all Americans once, and we still all are. If we could only come back to that American identity as a whole and understand together that our government is doing us all real raw and real dirty, and we can unite on that factor, and we can actually stand up together and say we've had about enough of the government rolling us over, then everything would start to get much better, much quicker. Okay? But here we are, pitted against each other. One that believes they're righteous, another group that believes they're righteous, and the whole time the government's laughing at us in our face, playing in our face like everything's a game, turning us against each other while they're increasing. Look at gas prices, right? Or look at the fact that now they got other people that want to get rid of gas, and we don't have any way to provide the complete total electric energy that we have. Look at New York City, right? Boom. New York City used to have Indian Point nuclear facility. It provided 25% of the energy for New York City, and it was completely clean, right? Completely green. So since they tried to get rid of that, and they were talking about all of the fossil fuels, they closed down Indian Point because these green people are like, yeah, that's not what we want. We want solar panels and wind turbines. Okay. But since that time, the usage of New York City's electric grid and fossil fuels has gone from 75% to 89%. We're all being fleeced by the government. And y'all don't see it that they're trying to manipulate and divide us. Man, please listen here. I'm gonna tell you this. This is really what we got going on here. We are being divided by race, by gender identity, by sexual orientation, by religious belief, by political party, by every single possible factor you could ever imagine. And here we are. We've got this drag story hour, which I have a lot of personal thoughts and concerns about myself, but that's for something else completely separate. That's not to actually talk about in this video. We'll talk about it in a later video. But there are people that are so passionate about these things. And both sides, that my biggest takeaway was both sides care about parental rights. But I can't see these two groups getting together to stand up and push back against the New York State government, the state assembly, the state senators, or the federal government about them stripping away your parental rights, our parental rights, the parental rights of individuals that live in our state and live in our nation. So if you really care so much, okay, pull your head out of your bum, have a fair, reasonable conversation with others, whether you agree or disagree. Find where we can come together on what issues we see that are happening in the government, okay, which need to be addressed, in which we align, come together and actually address those. And then after we fix all of the crap with the government and the BS that they've got going on, then and only then can we come back to fighting about dumb stuff. Because that's what this is. All of this is a distraction. All of it. All of it. Every little bit of it. Drag story time for children? Are you serious? Who thought that up? Who thought that up? Why is that a good idea? That's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. It's just not a good idea. Unless the concept is not that you want to teach kids reading skills, it's that you want to normalize people, small children, seeing people dressed in outside of their normal gender. I don't even know what you call it. There's so many complicated words these days. I just so irritating, right? Like, you want to push this on children to make them think that this is okay. It's not okay. It's just simply not okay. But hey, you want to take your children to this? Fine, take your children to this. I understand. I disagree, but I understand. And you should have that right. But again, I might disagree, but it's your right. But everybody out there protesting and counter protesting, and I'm in favor of this, I'm against that. Why? Right? Like, if anything, the push should be, if you're against that, the question is, why is it okay at public facilities, right? Why isn't it a private invitation-only event, right? So these are questions that need to be answered, because the fact of the matter is people don't want it to be a private invite-only event that's an actual secret or on the down low. They want to blow it up. They want to make it a big scene. They want to use it as a tactic to divide us. Okay. And some people know this, and other people are just unknowing participants in a much bigger plan to set us against each other. Then, as far as the people protesting against it go, where do we start? How does this actually work, right? Because there needs to be a conversation to win hearts and minds. Are you winning hearts and minds by the level of action that you're taking? Are you winning hearts and minds with the messaging that you're delivering? Are you winning those hearts and minds? I saw many hurt people, many confused people there today. Many people longing just for somebody to recognize them. Look at me, I exist. That shit's raw, y'all. I don't know if you've ever felt that way, but I understand that. Because it's honestly the sense of community, right? So for me, my question to the to the people protesting the event is this the direction that is going to best get the results that you want? My question to the people that are for this is, are you really for this, or are you perpetrating the fraud? And what you're trying to say is that you're trying to protect an ideology versus actually standing up for parental rights for people to have a drag story hour for their children. None of it makes any sense. None of it on either side. Okay? Both sides are not being honest. Neither side is being honest. Neither way are we going to be able to get into a better future. Neither way. We got to figure out something different, guys. And we need to come together. Both sides. I heard parental rights. So we need to stand up to the government and tell the government that the teachers do not run and own the students. We need to stand up to the government, tell the government that the government does not own and run the students. They cannot take away parental rights. They cannot tell you what to do with your child. Like, these are things that we should be able to come together on. Okay? These are very serious things. And if you believe in freedom of speech, if you believe in freedom of assembly, then you should believe in somebody else's right as much as you believe in your own right. And whether you agree with them or not, you should defend that right. Because if you're not doing that, you're wrong. You're wrong. There's many people that I disagree with, that I don't like what they're doing or whatever the case is, but it is their right. And I will fight for their right, because I will fight for my own right. And by me fighting for their right, whether I agree with them or not, I'm fighting for my own rights. The only thing is the problem with that is that we can't forget that the people that we might fight for might not be the same people that would fight for us. And going into a battle like that, standing up for rights when it comes to the very important things, we have to know that we are giving freely of ourselves and not to expect anything in return. And that is something that is lost. This is a real serious conversation that we need to have. Just the level of hurt that I saw there today. Hurt from people feeling that they're losing their country. Hurt from people that feel unrecognized and unloved. Hurt from people that feel as though now they are a part of a group, but they still feel empty and unrewarded. I wish more people grew up in church and were able to know the Lord, or they grew up in some religion in which they were able to know that there is something other than just themselves. And this is probably really what it is. Everybody's become so concerned with communalism that they've completely lost their sense of self to the communalism. And now they can't find themselves, and they're desperately seeking themselves. Right? You guys, there has to be a way forward that's better than this. And we're going to have to unite and stand up together. But these protests and things, this is not working. This is not good. Should people say, hey, no drag story hour is appropriate at community facilities? I don't know, maybe. I think that's at least worth a conversation. It's at least worth a conversation. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Okay? Should they be drag storying to children? Is it your children? Do you spank your children? Do you think everybody that doesn't spank their children thinks that it's okay for you to spank your children? And this isn't me defending something one way or another. This is just me speaking facts. And I know sometimes facts are a hard, salty thing to take, but we're going to have to really address them. We're going to have to really address what's going on in our society. And it's the divisionistic nature that's being thrust upon us by the elites, right? The elites who both sides, like the right and the left, the straight and the alphabet community, the Christians and the non-religious, like all of us know together that the elites and the government don't want anything good for any of us. So what the hell, man? Can we actually tackle the much larger issues? Okay, the food scarcity that is being forced and thrust upon us by what the government is doing as far as regulations and stuff. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about then you talk about, oh, well, be vegan, but can we talk about all of the stuff that's in the vegan food and that they spray on the vegetables and fruits and stuff? Can we talk about that? No, nobody wants to have that conversation. Nobody. The government's out after everybody, and we're here fighting over freaking scraps, right? Like, we're down here getting at low-hanging rotten fruit instead of seeing the very serious issues that are laid out before us. I see people out here yelling about housing is a right and housing is a right. Whatever, however you feel about that. But can we talk about how home ownership is becoming unrealistic because of prices skyrocketing and interest rates going through the roof, as well as inflation going sky high? Can we have that conversation and do something to unite something that's affecting everybody? Like, they've gotten everybody hating everybody else so bad, can't even talk to nobody in a decent way. And they're after everybody, y'all. Like, unless you make like $250,000 or more, you may very well be on the chopping block for what is coming down the pipe from the federal government and from the state government, but y'all not paying attention to see what's happening. What is it going to take? What is it going to take? Where are these people protesting the crime, right? Why aren't you guys at your assembly office or your senator's office? We see more and more crime every day, smash and grabs, kids running amok, doing all types of criminal stuff, bank robberies, shooting old ladies, tipping over old men in wheelchairs, all types of crazy stuff. What is going on? Why can't we unite over that? Why must we fight over dumb stuff? Drag Story Hour. Are y'all serious right now? Are y'all serious with yourself? This is what y'all come out for. This is what y'all come out for. Are you serious? They are trying to limit the amount of energy that you can use in your home and price people out of the energy market completely. Are you serious with yourself right now? Walmart said 65% of the jobs in all of their business, in all of their stores, will be automated by 2026, bro. That's 3 years ago. Do you know how many jobs that is? Do you know the impact on the economy that's going to have? By 2030, 60% of all jobs in all professions, and this is according to the federal government, the Central Business Office, will be taken by AI and machines. Are y'all even awake? How asleep are you? And y'all out here worrying about some drag story hour? Y'all out here standing up in favor of some drag story hour? Y'all out here fighting against some drag story hour? We got China forming a whole united front against us, with all these other countries trying to push back against America's influence across the world, devalue our currency, and make it more difficult for us to be able to get manufactured goods, when y'all know good and well we don't make nothing in America no more. So what's going to happen to our country and your ability to buy the nice little cool things that you want and like? Are y'all even paying attention to the real serious shit? Are you at all? Not even a little bit. Not even a little, because this is the fight. Drag Story Hour is the fight. Are y'all serious? Like, like, I don't want to sound like I'm being contemptuous or I'm having some sort of a feeling, but maybe that's what needs to be brought into this. Maybe I need to express some feeling so maybe you can feel something. Okay, because I don't think enough of y'all are feeling enough of anything, even though we continue to see the pinch and feel the bite of hyperinflation stemming through everything that's going on. The government's about to digitalize our currency and run all transactions through the federal government. Y'all think that that is good? Y'all don't think that we should be standing up against that? But y'all gonna be out here, and I'm in favor of Drag Story Hour, but I'm not really in favor of Drag Story Hour. I just feel like I'm supporting the alphabet community, even though drag is not even the whole alphabet community. It's just one small particular subset of another subset, which you don't even actually have to be part of the alphabet community to participate in drag, because if you're a cross-dresser or a transvestite, it doesn't mean that you're actually gay or homosexual. Can we have that conversation? No, because y'all don't want to be honest about stuff. Okay? We're not being honest. At what point do we start being honest with each other? Okay? And to all the people that are up here standing up, pushing back against the Drag Story Hour, is this the way? Is this honestly the way? to get people to hear your voice, to get people to understand your way of thinking? Or are we just spinning our own wheels, trying to feel like we're doing something, participating in something because we're in the desperate death throes and we want to feel as if we have some power or something over something desperately, anything that we can control, because we feel that the world is going absolutely out of control at this point? These are the questions that I'm going to leave you with. What are our next steps? How do we unite? And how do we push back against the government bending us all over and the accelerated race towards automation and AI, which will cripple our economy and force the masses into destitution, while we got half of these people talking about we need socialism? But the people that are asking for socialism are in the upper middle class, y'all. Y'all don't hear me. I'm going to say it again. The people that are asking for socialism, the people that are screaming the most are in the upper middle class or are in the lower upper class. They ain't got to worry about nothing. Most of them don't know what the struggle even looks like, okay? And they're the ones that are arguing for this stuff. Imagine what will happen when they get in power. They didn't care about you now. They definitely ain't gonna care about you then. And they trying to input stuff that is actually going counter your best interest right now, and you're not even listening to what they're saying because you want to just go along because it sounds like it will possibly be better than what we are doing now, when it will only be worse, because the whole concept of communism and socialism is to replace the old guard with the new guard, and basically instead of the bourgeoisie, the elites, or whoever are on top right now, is you replace them with the other people, and then they become the elites, and then you just switch it around a little bit. You don't actually address the actual issues or the actual problems that are going on, and this is very serious, and nobody wants to talk about it, but it's continuing to accelerate at a very serious hyper pace. When are we going to get honest? When are we going to really start having these hard conversations? When are people going to wake up? We've all been sold a false bill of goods. All of us. There is no two separate parties. There is no two separate frames of thought. Everybody yearns to be free. And if we continue at this rate, none of us will have any freedom in the new system that they are creating all around us, while we're so divided that we're fighting against each other. Now, you think about that, you take that to heart, you go to bed tonight and you sit there and you think about what I said, because it needs to be thought about, and come back at me and we can have this conversation in earnest at some time, because we're going to have to unite and we're going to have to move forward together, because that's what we need to do. Because this is where we are, because people haven't stood up against the stuff that the government is doing that is limiting our ability to be free in our own nation, to divine our own course. And that is what the alphabet people say that they want. And that is what people that are not the alphabet people say that they want. So what the hell? You guys, I love you all. I love you all. From the depths of my heart, from the depths of my soul, I love you all. I wish the best for you. And if you feel as though somebody doesn't love you or doesn't care about you, I care about you. I love you. Okay? May you be blessed and you be well. I'll catch you guys later.